everyone. Very good evening. Hello and good evening. I am Anshu Budhia and I would be taking your ATX classes. So before we proceed, quick things to check up. Please keep your mics on mute mode, your videos off. Okay, and that's compulsory for all the sessions. So just make sure that you're always on mute mode unless and until I require you to be on unmuted mode. And of course, please keep your videos off. The way to communicate with me would be through chat box. I hope I'm audible. So good evening, Drumil, Himanshu, Akash, Manish. Yeah, Malvika and Manish, just check your mics. I think everybody is able to hear me. So just make sure that your mics, your speakers are working fine. Yeah, fine. Good evening, Himanshu. Yeah, hello. And good evening, Akash. So I believe now Malvika and Manish are able to hear me and everybody else also. I'm properly audible. I believe, Manish, you are on mute. That is why it is showing you as mute. I am audible. Yeah, that's okay. Everybody's on mute mode. I can see that. So don't put yourself about hearing me and looking at me and my screen. So I think that's perfect for everyone. Thank you, fine. Okay, people. So just a brief about myself. I am Anshu Budhia and I have an experience of more than 14 to 15 years, after the post qualification. So I'm a chartered accountant and a US-CMA, and I've been teaching ACCA for the last, I believe, more than 8 years. So, and tax, ATX, and some other subjects are my forte. So I'm sure we're going to have a very great time with the sessions. I always welcome all the queries that you can ask me any number of times. But when we are in the session and when I'm probably explaining a concept to you, we are doing questions, I want your full attention on the screen, on the questions, on what we are discussing. Okay, so try to keep yourself free for these 3 hours. Free when I say mentally you are there in the class. We will be discussing in detail about ATX, and just asking uh, who all are going to give this as your first professional paper. Okay. So approximate 50% of the class is going to give it as the first paper. Great. Okay, that's great. Okay, so one thing which is the basic that I want all of you to parallelly go through in case if you haven't. See, when we go for ATX, that is advanced taxation, we follow the UK variant. And those who have studied Indian taxes, UK taxes are not similar to Indian taxes. Okay, there are a lot of differences between the two. In fact, they're altogether a different, streams of taxes. I mean, different tax rates. The basic definitions remain same at various places, but of course, the calculation, the concepts are different. So, in the advanced taxation levels, though we are, taking those tax basic tax structures, basic tax discussions that we have had in a F6 or taxation levels in the skills level, a bit forward ahead of it. So I really want all of you, that those who have not gone through the tax paper in the skills level because of exemptions or any other reasons, try to cover those basics by having a quick go through, and parallelly when we are doing the chapters in our ATX. Okay, so the chapters that we are doing in ATX, try to get a material for F6, guys. So parallelly, please follow the material there also. With the basics, it would help you to grasp the topic even more better way, right? So Manish, I believe you will fall in this zone. Yeah, that is really going to help you out. Okay, so I think let's proceed, and let's begin with first an introduction video of ATX given by ACCA. Okay, and let's have an insight into this subject. So let's go for our first session. Okay, folks, I am sharing this sound. In case if you find any issues, please put up in the chat box.
Advanced taxation reflects the need to exercise professional judgment and provide relevant information and advice to individuals and businesses on the impact of major taxes on financial decisions and situations. There is an international and a number of country-specific versions of this exam. Detailed knowledge of the tax system is critical, but so too is the ability to apply that knowledge by interpreting and analysing the information provided and then communicating the outcomes in a manner appropriate to the intended audience. We know that students who have completed the Ethics and Professional Skills module are significantly better prepared for this exam, so make sure you plan the module into your studies. ACCA recommends studying with an approved learning partner and using study materials from our approved content providers. However you study, ACCA will support your learning journey with a range of free resources. The Examiner's Approach article is a good place to start. We also provide examiners' reports, which give constructive and detailed feedback. There are also technical and exam technique articles to further refine your knowledge and skills. To practice and perfect your exam technique, the CBE Practice platform replicates the real exam experience and allows you to practice up-to-date exam standard questions before marking and reviewing your answers using detailed marking guides and model answers. The exam has two sections. The whole of the syllabus is examinable in either section and all questions are compulsory. Question 1 is worth 35 marks and question 2 is worth 25 marks. They require you to analyse information and use guidance given to help address the requirements. They are likely to address a number of different taxes. Question 1 will require the answer to be presented in a particular format, for example a report, memorandum or letter. You should use the number of marks allocated to each requirement to determine how much time to spend on each part. Questions 3 and 4 in section B are each worth 20 marks and contain concise, structured information. Using the resources available from ACCA and your learning partner is the proven route to exam success. So good luck with your advanced taxation exam from everyone at ACCA.
Yeah, so I think this gives you an introduction about your subject, though there are few changes in the exam pattern that I would be taking now. Okay, so there are few changes in your syllabus. Now the exam pattern has changed. Now it's no longer section A2 questions, or we have only one question in section A, which is for 50 marks. Half of your marks is in that one question of section A. Section B will have two questions of 25 marks each. Okay, so I'll give you more details about it because few more things, few more add-ons have been added there. That is going to give you some additional marks by properly presenting your answers. These changes have been brought into effect from June 2023 onwards. So let's take a few discussions. This is your book that we are going to be following, PPP workbook. Okay, so let me just first give you an introduction about it. Okay, people. The first point is, ma'am, what is expected from us in ATX? What kind of level is expected from us? Do we just need to know the concepts and write in the concepts over there? Or are we also needed to apply the concepts in the situations? So, yes, boss, you all are required to apply the concepts in the situations. Give your answers in the most professional way because you will be judged on your professional skills also. No longer in the professional level, you would be having questions like MCQs or 2 marks, 4 marks, 8 marks, 15 marks, or 20 marks questions. They will be elaborated case studies and you would be required to go through them. You have to apply your judgment as to which taxes are applicable, what are the situations, what clauses will be applicable, and accordingly, you're going to frame your answer. Questions will not be that direct questions that we have in our skills level because they are the profession, it is the profession level. So you are expected to apply the relevant knowledge skills and exercise professional judgment in providing the relevant information. You're also required to use a skepticism to answer the question and communicate the question, the answer in the way that is desired, in the most professional way. Conclusions would be drawn on. So, generally we consider that like taxes is a very practical exam. So ATX is also by default a practical paper. No, I would just take it a bit less practical because now here you have more implementation of the concepts. So it is not a complete practical paper, but yes, it is a blend of both writing your concepts and applying them. And if there is a calculation needed, only then you will give the calculation. Sometimes in some cases even there is no calculation needed. You just need to bring in to the examiner's notice the relevant sections or the relevant the taxation rules which are applicable, and what is your conclusion based on the same. So here I won't say that we will have full calculations kind of a concept. It is going to be a blend definitely. So you would be required to make sure that you're reading the questions well. You will have to develop a tactics to answer the question. The professional way of writing would be created, and don't worry, we'll cover all these points in the classes. We'll be doing questions practice, we'll be discussing the answers. So we'll be working on improving the writing language, the way of writing, the writing skills, and make sure that we are able to write the answer in the best way that the examiner needs, okay, as early as possible. Okay. Yeah. So you can see the link here. When you move from skills to professionals, it's a direct linkage. Taxation to ATX, definitely. If you study taxes, ATX becomes more comfortable. Now, there are a few important points that I want to bring to your notice. Your examination time is 3 hours 15 minutes. Okay, and you would be giving a compulsory CBE exam, computer-based exam. No manual exams are there, and from 2020 onwards, all the professional exams have also been converted into CBE. Okay, passing marks is 50% minimum. Of course, for my class, I take it to much higher levels, and I expect, and of course, we will work together to ensure that we all are targeting for ranks rather than just getting passing marks. Okay, there are few points that I want to highlight. See, these are the expectations built up by the examiners for the students appearing for professional exams. First point, you are expected to identify the issues, okay, and apply the detailed knowledge of the taxes that you have gotten after studying the full syllabus. You have to make sure that you are able to identify which relevant taxes are applicable, and accordingly you will apply them in the most correct way. Okay, like I was telling you're expected to take both calculations as well as narrative work. In fact, in ATX, narrative work increases in comparison with taxes in the skills level. Of course, because you have to do more of, making the examiner understand that what conclusions you've drawn from the case law, what are your inputs into it, okay, how well you have understood the case. So those interpretations of the rules applicable, you have to explain all that in your ATX paper. There is a tax rates allowances and information which would be given to you in your exam. I'll show you that. So you don't have to memorize all the tax rates, and various tax rules are going to be given to you in your help section. So that you can use anytime in the exam. Now let's look at the format of your exam paper. The total marks are 100 marks, which is divided into two sections, Section A and Section B. Section A has only one compulsory case study question, that is for 50 marks. I'll come to these professional marks later, but I'm just telling you first the marks breakup. Section B will have two 25 marks compulsory questions. Okay, that is for 25 marks each. Please understand, there are no options. They are all compulsory. Okay, there is no option given. Okay, next. So what is section A would be comprising of? What kind of question will it be there? What kind of answering would it be there? It is going to cover the entire syllabus. There is nothing called important in your professional exams because everything is important. A case study will have a combination of multiple taxes, multiple areas of your syllabus, and questions will not be direct. They will not say that, okay, calculate the house property income, calculate the chargeable gains arising from it. The cases will be given to you, and then you have to pick and choose. You have to identify which sections are applicable, which taxes are applicable. Accordingly, you have to write narratives, you have to do the calculations, or you have to do a combination of both that you have to apply. Okay, so time management is highly needed for attempting these papers, and we are going to ensure that time is managed from day one of our classes. We're not going to wait for the classes to be over and then look into the time management. We are going to inculcate this habit right from the beginning, right? So we will have the habit in place, and you won't find difficult to complete the paper in the exam. Next, just to give you a rough time, generally 15 to 20 minutes should be devoted on the question which is asked in section A, because it's such a lengthy question and so many portions are asked there that we need to identify, we need to highlight, we need to segregate the information which we need versus the information which is not needed. So for that, thorough reading is essential. But do we need to read the entire question in one go, or what should be the style of reading? That we will do as we progress in the syllabus. I would be guiding you for the same. Okay, now the section B, 225 marks questions. Again, they will be from anywhere in this, and they will be And in the syllabus, there are a few new topics also added. Okay, so that we will be covering along with our syllabus. So again, section A and section B are open for the entire syllabus. I hope this is absolutely clear in your mind. Section A 50 marks, section B 25 marks, 2 questions. So now the question is, ma'am, what is this? 5 marks, 5 skills marks, and 10 professional skills marks. What does it mean? It means that, these are add-ons introduced from June 2023. There are 4 professional skills that are being judged. I'll just tell you. In fact, there are 5 professional skills being judged, but section B is open to only 4 professional skills, and section A is open to 5 professional skills. So which are the professional skills which are judged? Just look here. Analysis and evaluation, skepticism, commercial acumen, exam readiness, and your communication. Okay. Precisely, these are the 4 areas that are more important here. Now, how are these skills judged? We have different skills, given in different places in the workbook. So we will cover them accordingly. When I say skills are judged and they carry 10 marks in section A, I mean, that's a lot. That's around 20% of the total marks of section A. You will not be asked, particularly that explain this skill. No. The way you write your answer, the way you are discussing the answer, then the examiner will evaluate whether these skills are being covered or not. And accordingly, the marking would be done. However, in your question, examiner will reflect that which 2 skills are being covered in section A and which 2 skills are being covered in section B. Okay, because generally 2 skills are covered in section A and 2 skills are covered in section B. Let me just discuss about these skills more. So let me just elaborate it here. There are 10 professional skills marks, which is covering all 4 of the professional skills. Any 2 can be asked in the exam. A professional skill, single professional skill will not be judged for more than 5 marks. So 2 professional skills, 5 into 2, 10 marks. Okay. You are not required to write separately about any professional skills. You're not required to write separately about them. I will tell you how you will develop that skill in your answering. Okay. So that skill, when it is developed in your answering, would be evaluated by the examiner. Okay. So it is embedded in your answer. So if you write your answer in the correct format as per the correct requirement of the question, and if you are able to apply the rules of that skill in your answer, you will get these free 10 marks. I call them free marks, because technically you're not doing anything for these skills. It is embedded in your answer. So if you write your answer in the perfect way, you will get this free 10 skills marks. Such a good boost it is for the paper. Okay. Now, likewise, in your section B, each section B question will be covering 1 skill. So out of the 4 skills, that is analysis and evaluation, skepticism, communication, analysis and evaluation, skepticism, and commercial acumen. These 4 skills are judged for section B. For section A, in addition to analysis, evaluation, skepticism, and commercial acumen, communication skill is also judged. I'll tell you why in section 8, because sometimes in section 8, question will ask you to write a letter, to write a report. So report writing, letter writing is a way to communicate. That is why these communication skills are also judged in section 8. So if you have, that means you have to write your answer in the perfect format as as we will discuss when we go ahead with the chapters and the questions. Any doubts until here, please put it in the chat box, people. Are you clear with your expectations from this subject? Are you clear with your exam pattern, exam paper, and what all, you have to improve in yourself to ensure that, you're writing this paper with utmost professional acumen? Please tell me quickly, people. Are you clear? Any doubts, any queries till this time? Till this point, any questions? Anyone has? Yes. Like I said, Malvika, you would be able to follow. There are many who get exemptions for taxes in skills, and they go for ATX in the professional level. Absolutely, you can go for it. I'll discuss again, Manish, section A. Okay. Yes, definitely you can go for it. We will be discussing ATX. And like I said, parallelly, I'll tell you at some places, then just follow the tax notes for a moment. Okay. I would tell you at some places that please go back to the basics in taxes, the skills level subject. So you can just have the material and just go through it once. That's all. But as such, you would be able to follow it. There will not be any issues. Fine, Malvika? Okay, Manish, section A, quickly discussing it again. It is for 50 marks. Only one case study question for 50 marks. Out of this 50 marks, you can say that 40, 40 is towards your question answering. Like 35 is towards your technical areas and 5 is towards the ethics. That is going to be covered in the question. So 35 marks for your technical answering, 5 marks for your ethics, and 10 marks are towards the professional skills which are reflected by you in your answering. Out of the 5 professional skills, analysis, evaluation, commercial acumen, communication, and skepticism, out of these 5 professional skills, any 2 professional skills will be judged in the exam in section A. They will be covering 5 marks each. So the total of 4 skills then becomes 10 marks. Am I clear now? So in your answering, as we progress in the subject, we will understand how to improve the answering levels so that it matches the professional level requirements. Okay. And like I was saying, these skill marks are embedded in your question. They are not separately asked. The way you're writing, the way you're including your points, the way you're discussing would reflect to the examiner the skills, whether it is reflected in your answer or not. So if you present your skills well, you would get these 10 marks free. Am I clear now, Manish? Any other points, Manish? Sure. So I hope everybody's clear till this point. Any questions, any concerns? Akash, Drumil, Himanshu, Lino, Ram, Rishabh, Twinkle, anyone? Please put it in the chat box. Great. Fine. Let's proceed. So I think it looks exciting, no? The professional papers. I'm telling you, they're very exciting to write and they're very exciting to study as well. Now you have an option for your remote exams as well. Though I support center-based exams because, you have, they're fully in your control. Remote exams sometimes have issues for your network and the other concerns. So it's more better if you can book center-based exams. In case if you cannot, then you can opt for remote-based exams. Hello, good evening, Sagar. Fine. And these are some analysis drawn upon from your past papers, though they do not guarantee that a particular topic will be asked always or will not be asked. There is no guarantee like that. Okay. So we will do each and every question in the exam kit, in the workbook, everything we'll try to cover. And of course, you guys are going to get a lot of homework also, because so that we are covering almost everything during our sessions only. Okay, just giving an idea, the 4 professional skills, skepticism, and here they're combined here, analysis and evaluation, communication, commercial acumen. They are covered at various skill checkpoints in your book that we are going to cover along the way. Okay. Okay. So a quick understanding I want to draw here for how to go for your exams. I mean, what all is expected and how you should progress for your exams. So I would just give you an insight from ACCA only, like what should be the way to proceed ahead. Number one, it is expected that we will view specimen exams early in our studies only. Do not wait to look at the specimen exams, to look at the marks later in the syllabus. We will make them, I will make them accustomed to you early in the syllabus so that you will know what kind of exam questions are asked, what is the preparation that you need to have, and you will do the same way along with your when we are doing the classes. It is expected that you will have thorough and precise knowledge of the entire syllabus. So you're not going to leave anything in the syllabus, anything. We will, of course, it's a requisite that refresh the brought forward knowledge of your tax syllabus. In case if you do not have, then I will tell you at the appropriate places, refer to the tax notes. Always you should have one F6 book handy with you. Make sure that you have it so that the basics can well be cleared with that F6 book. Okay, and we have to learn to identify the requirement of the question and doing the answering accordingly. Yeah, connect with the team, they will guide you. Okay. And I like the last statement a lot. Be ruthless in critiquing your answers. That means when you're writing your answers, if you have to criticize on a point, if you have to judge on a point, if you have to give your opinions on the point, be open for it. You have to give opinions, you will go according to the requirement of the question, that what is required. Whatever is required, be free in answering that. Okay, that's essential. I'll again take you to the book. See, these are few points that we will inculcate in our habits from day one. First and the foremost, even when I teach skills level, I always tell the students, half of your answer is always in the question. And with your ATX, it is always the fact. Half of your answers would always be there in the question. That means if you read the question well and properly by devoting time, you would be able to identify what exactly the question requires, and most of the information that you require to solve the question is there in the question itself. Sometimes questions look tricky, but they're not tricky. So if you read the requirement, your answering would be accordingly. See, like for example, some words are very important. Sometimes the question will say, please advise on this matter. Now, when the question says advise, what exactly we have to do? It means that we have to tell them what you think they should do based on the present scenario. So we have to give our advice to them. Okay, based on the scenario, what exactly they should be doing. Second, they want you to calculate. Now, calculation means they're not looking for advice. You don't have to write anything unnecessary. Calculate means simple data is there. You have to do the calculations and present them with the answer. So you have to be to the point. Okay, no need to make stories and no need to go round and round. We will be to the point. Third, conclude. It's a very important point, because many students, they get confused when the question asks them to conclude. I'll tell you why. Because conclusion, it means that you don't have to be diplomatic. You have to give your answer with a clear decision whether the project will be undertaken or it will not be, whether whether the person would be taxed at a particular rate or not, or whether this, as per the different tax laws given, whether the person should go for the investment in a particular country or not. So you have to give a clear decision. Never give a decision which is circling around, which is diplomatic. That is, you're not giving a clear decision. Then you'll not be marked. Because the question requirement is very clear that, boss, you have to give a conclusion. Next, discuss. Discuss is that diplomatic kind of situation. Discuss means now the question wants you to discuss both the pros and the cons, negatives and positives, both sides for the answer. Okay? If there is any conflict, you have to compare. So discussion means you don't have to conclude. You just have to put in your views for both negative and the positives. That's all. No need for a conclusion here. Evaluate. Now, evaluate means when the question asks you to evaluate, again you are discussing, but then you're discussing on a more balanced way. You're evaluating the strategy. So in that case, you will see the pros and cons of the strategy, and then you will give an answer whereby you will conclude. Okay, you will evaluate both the sides, and then you will give a decision to the examiner that what exactly would be done here. So you will apply your judgment here. Okay, you are not just going to evaluate on the basis of facts which are available, the calculations that you have done. You're going to apply the judgment also that you have developed after studying the course. Essential. Next, explain. See, I know these terms used, you will say, ma'am, we all know about it, but these terms are very important in your answering. If the question wants you to explain and you are doing other way around and you're doing an evaluation, you will lose marks because you're not meeting the requirement of the examiner. Examiner wants you to explain. Now, explain means what? You have to give a detailed reasoning for a particular case. You have to give reasons for the event. When we say explain, I have to give detailed, I have to give details of the question, not just making the list. We are not making the list over there. We're not writing it in bullets only. You have to explain them in the paragraphs. You have to give detailed, statements. If you write a point, you have to explain that point, elaborate that point. Got it? Questions is identifying. Identifying means you're just identifying a particular requirement and writing it down. No need to give it in detailed explanations and all. No, just identification. Questions is recommend. No, recommend means what? You have to give a decision. You have to give an approach, a suggested approach. Okay, a justified course of action. What should be done? So you have to give a recommendation. State. Now, when the question says state, no need to explain. Just write the points, because you have to just state the points. Just write the answers in bullets. That's all. So that is why you have to read the requirement of the questions very carefully. The reading of question is also a very important skill that you have to develop. Okay, because it is not the normal reading that we do. The reading of questions for these professional exams has to be in the proper way. There is no need to read the full question in one go. So we will discuss the reading styles also, which will help you save time and your efforts, and which will make sure that your answering is more accurate. Okay. I hope you know that for your answering, the narratives part, it is generally recommended in the Word. So word screen will open up in your CB exams. Okay. And for answering by way of doing calculations, your Excel sheets, spreadsheets will open up. Okay. So like I had discussed, I'm telling you again, for a 50 marks question, generally to plan the question, that how you're going to go about it, how you would start the question, how you would end the question, what you're going to write, For all this, generally, it's recommended that you will take 15 to 20 minutes for the same. Now, I'm not saying 15 to 20 minutes is a benchmark. Generally, averagely, we take around 15 to 20 minutes. You can take less than that also, more than that also. But you should try not to exceed 20 minutes in any case. For a 25 marks question, recommended is you should take time up to 10 minutes only and not beyond that. But I instruct my class that please take 5 to 6 minutes and not more than that. Okay, try not to exceed the time. Before I proceed to the first chapter, let me give you an insight. Let me just show you how your mocks look like, how your question paper will look like. That would give you a fair idea of how your exam paper would look, right? And then if you have any queries and questions, don't hesitate in asking me in the chat box. Okay, please make sure that you go through your technical articles from the day one only. I mean, when we are studying the relevant topics, try to go through these technical articles. The topic explainers, this is a library of articles that we can say. Okay, these are the relevant portions, like when we cover corporation tax, that time you can go through it. When we cover inheritance tax, capital gain tax, you can just go through them. Okay, they're going to be explaining you in a much even more better way. Okay, that is, they are just additional tools to help you understand in more better way. So we have videos also to explain that, and we have text also to explain that. But not all the topics, some topics are covered over there. Suppose I'll take you here. So you suppose one question. This is how your question will look like on the screen. So suppose this is the question for 25 marks. Okay, on the left side, you have your exhibits. These are letter extracts. So this is a question. Your manager has received a letter from Rishi, a client of your firm who has been living overseas. Okay, and that the details are given to you here. This is the letter extracts from Rishi on the left side. Email extracts from your manager. Now, the work to be carried out relates to the inheritance tax payable in respect of lifetime gifts following the death of the donor, the tax resident status of an individual, whether assets should be sold before or after returning to the UK, and choice of accounting date of an unincorporated business. I know you will not relate to the question, but I'll just explain you something that I will once we complete reading the question. The following exhibits are also available. The information should be used, this information should be used to answer the question requirements within your chosen response options. So these are kind of 4 questions which are asked to you for 25 marks. Okay, now you would read the requirement of the questions and then you would be answering that. So I hope it is clear that when you proceed, you will have email exhibits. Okay, you will have the letter exhibits. So all these requirements are going to be mentioned over there, and see, you can just see the length of the question. Now, this is the second question, for example, for 20 marks. Okay, now again, the following exhibit gives you, provides information relevant to the question. So this is the question, and just look at the requirement. Yaki has requested advice on the following. You have to give advice. Okay, you have to give your advice on these 2 matters based on this Yaki exhibit which is there. Requirement is also mentioned separately. So based on the requirement, you're going to frame your answer. As you can see here, the complete syllabus is covered here. There is no separate marks for any particular topic. Fine? Okay, are we clear till this point? Any questions, any queries? Please put up in the chat box. Fine, can we proceed to the first chapter? So we will be starting with discussion of small questions, and then we will go into discussions of bigger questions. Okay, directly we won't jump to a 50 marks or a 25 marks question. Sure. Let's proceed to our first chapter, which is ethics, tax avoidance schemes. What are ethics? So we are discussing our first topic, ethics. People, what are ethics? Ethics are some by default principles, the fundamental principles that is to be followed by a professional, that is expected to be followed by him, correct? In dispersing his professional duties. This is what we cover in ethics. Okay, yeah, Manish, you would be required to buy these books, BPP. Okay, and I would want you to buy the books, physical books, that would give you an access to ebooks also. So you can contact with the team. Okay, they will guide you about this. But yes, it is essential to buy them for your regular reading and your regular studies. Okay, now let me just give you a walkthrough through your workbook also. This reminds me of this. This is your workbook. It covers these introduction topics. It covers the chapters. So from 1 to 25, all the chapters are covered here. Of course, they have questions at the back. Along with it, and this is only available in an ebook version, you will have your essential readings. Okay, essential readings are the a bit more detailed, discussion on few topics in particular chapters. Like if we do here, when we're doing ethics chapter, it is showing your essential reading. So for a few more points that is not covered in detail here will be covered in essential reading. Some points I take up in the class, okay, and many things I will tell you to do, revise them while you're discussing the chapter or when you're reading the chapter at home, okay, after the session. Of course, I'll cover all of the points. Many points I covered them in the class, or many points I'll tell them orally also. Fine. This is essential reading portion. You can see the skill checkpoints at various gaps. These are relating to the skills as we were discussing. Okay, then which are judged in the exam. Then we have these further questions practice. Okay, and these are some additional question bank. This is an additional question bank for you to answer the questions, small questions as well as bigger questions. So they help you in, developing your habit of writing a discussion question or preparing a memorandum, for example, preparing paragraphs of the letter. So gradually we will see step by step how to write the answers. And then you have these tax tables, as I was telling you, that you will have your tax rates and allowances tables available in the exam. This is your tax tables that are going to be available to you in your exams. Yeah, this will be available to you in your health section. You don't need to learn them. But leaving this, if there is any tax rates, any other rules, you have to remember them. You have to memorize them. Okay, so these are the list supplementary information which is going to be given to you. In fact, it is common for your taxes also. In taxes exam also, the same supplementary information is given. Here some additional is there. Okay, this would be given to you. Okay, and then we have the format of the exam. We have this the approach to the ATX exam and few questions that are being discussed. Fine, let's go to the first chapter. First chapter says the first topic is about ethics. So in ethics, we know ethics are the fundamental principles that are to be followed by a professional in delivering his professional duties. And you have an ethics module also that is supposedly to be covered by you. Ideally, if you can cover it along with your ATX, it's really going to be helpful to you for that 5 marks of ethics in your section A. Okay, so you have these principles which are covered in the ACCA Code of Ethics and Conduct, which are expected to be followed by the professional, like integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. So when we go to the essential reading part of this chapter, let me visit that. This is covered in a bit detail here. Like when I say integrity, integrity means what? Integrity means showing an honesty. That a professional should be honest in delivering his professional duties and in his professional and business relationships. He should be absolutely crystal clear in his thought process when he is delivering his duties. Okay, and a member is not expected to be connected with any information which is going to give misleading statements, okay, or which is going to um, lead to omission of information, reckless presentation of information. So in any way which is leading to a dishonest behavior, this is not expected from an ACCA professional. Second is objectivity. Objectivity means the views of the professional should be free from bias, free from any conflicts. They should not be under any influence, under any pressure. Okay, the ACCA professional is expected that he's not compromising with any of his professional judgments. Okay, he's given the view, he's giving the views in his statements as is expected by. Professional competence and due care, that means the members, they are required to maintain and they're expected to maintain the professional skills in the work that they are delivering. Of course, it's a basic relation, it's a basic requirement. So when they are dealing with the clients in their business relationship, then also they're expected to have the desired professional skill and knowledge levels maintained. They should act diligently in accordance with the professional standards. that are there when you read the ACCA Code of Ethics. Confidentiality, this is utmost important. The information of the client should not be shared with other clients, any other authority, including HMRC. HMRC is the Income Tax Authority of UK, Her Majesty Revenue and Customs. Okay, so with no one the data should be shared. In fact, people, even if as the ACCA, if you're stopping to act for the client, you cannot divulge into disclosing any confidential information with anyone. This is a confidentiality clause that's applicable on you in dealing with your professional and business relationships. Got it? Then professional behavior. I mean, this comes first in everything. When you're delivering your professional duties, your business duties, then you're expected to maintain the professional behavior. You're required to comply with the with the legal requirements, the law, the regulations, and um, refrain from doing professional misconduct. Okay, so that is expected from you as a professional. I hope we are clear with this brief understanding of these 5 principles of ethics. So like this, these are in detail given here in your essential reading. Then we have the disclosure of information. As we have already discussed, people, whenever you're disclosing any information, the fundamental principle of confidentiality has to be followed. Compulsory. Yes, yes, Malvika. Like we say, Income Tax Authority of India or Income Tax Department in India, it's HMRC, because UK is basically everything is with reference to Her Majesty. So HMRC we refer to the Income Tax Department over there. Okay. Yeah. So again, just taking it forward, the disclosure of information. Please, as a professional, you are not expected to disclose any confidential information to anyone, third party, clients, ex-clients. If you are an ex-accountant for a client and a new accountant approaches you, then you're not required to disclose the information unless client gives you that authority. Client says, okay, boss, you can go and disclose the information, only then you can do it. Otherwise, you're not expected to do it. This is a straightforward point. Fine. Next. Suppose there are few situations. Sometimes a legal requirement is there, a law, the law is requiring you to disclose information. Then can you do it? Or then also we have to maintain the confidentiality principle? No. Then ACCA Code of Ethics has given some exceptional cases, some situations where confidentiality principle will not hold true. We can disclose some confidential information also. Like number 1, when disclosure is permitted by law and it is authorized by the client or your employer. See, this is very important. Even if disclosure is permitted by law and if the client does not permit you to disclose the information, then you cannot disclose. You will mention it over there that on account of the client refraining me in the capacity of a professional to disclose confidential information, we are unable to disclose the same. Clear? Second, again, when the disclosure is required by law, and in that case it is not necessary to obtain permission of the client, like when you have those ED raids in India, or we call it anti money laundering legislations. You all know about money laundering? Yeah, so we'll discuss about that point also. Anti-money laundering legislations are there. You have these ED raids, ED conducts. In that case, that the disclosure of confidential information is needed. But of course, the extent to which you're disclosing will again depend upon your terms with the clients. There is a professional duty or a right to disclose when not prohibited by law. Like, for example, when we are undergoing a quality review by any of the departments, we have these quality reviews very regular by the different that's okay, Aditya. Okay, so when you are doing undergoing a quality review, for example, now when you're doing a quality review and you have to give some information about the the processes of the company, the flowcharts of the company, then it's okay to disclose. I mean, then there is no law that prohibits you that you cannot disclose. So some confidential informations can be disclosed, like when we have these audits. For example, when we have audits, when we approach the external auditor approaches the internal auditor, and there are some areas which he cannot disclose, but there are some areas for which he can share his internal audit report. So no, that's okay. That's allowed in the act. So that is you're allowed to do. That is not breach of confidentiality. Got it? Next, you can use your expertise, your judgment, your experience to ensure and to look into what information should be disclosed and what should not. Okay. So the point here is that why we are discussing these points in detail, because like I said, many time questions will ask you to apply your professional judgments, and there will be situations given to you where there is some information to be shared as well. Internally, that will only be for 2 to 3 marks, but then why to lose those 2 to 3 marks as well, right? So therefore we are discussing that in which situations ideally confidentiality principle would be breached and will not be breached. Clear? Any doubts? Quickly put it in the chat box. Sometimes, I'll explain the last point. You may also use experience and expertise gained from advising clients to advise other clients. I am a consultant, a tax consultant. Okay. So now over the years, I have had experience of advising different clients on different areas. Now suppose a new client comes to me and he wants an advice. I don't need to always see, what should I share and what should I not share. I will use my judgment, my experience, on the basis of which I will give the consultancy to my clients. Clear? Okay, the profession. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll cover this. There is a professional duty or a right to disclose when not prohibited by law, such as under a quality review. Yeah, it is. It is. Like I told you about the internal audit and external audit. When you are an external auditor and you are requiring some information from the internal auditor, and you are approaching the internal auditor that submits his report to the audit committee. I'm just taking another angle. Okay, then internal auditor, can he share his report with the external auditor? Is he prohibited under any act to not to do so? No, he's not. So what he's doing, he's sharing some confidential information only, but he can share it with the external auditor, and that's not prohibited under any law. Are you clear with this? So likewise, we have different quality audits. When you're in the manufacturing of cars or a manufacturing of any machines, you have time to time the quality audits, covered by the different technical teams. So then at that time, you have to disclose confidential information about the product specifications, and that you will be doing because your quality audit is covering those areas. And that is not prohibited by law not to do so. Clear now? Absolutely. Great. Okay, now let's go to conflict of interest. Now it's a very interesting situation. Now suppose there are two spouses, right? We have spouses, husband and wife. And there is one attorney who handles the cases of both husband and wife. And they are very cordial. So there is no problem in handling the cases handling the cases for husband and wife both. I mean, a lot of people do that. If there is a conflict arising between husband and wife. Now, is it fair for the professional to act for both husband and wife? Please tell me. Till the time the situations are cordial, there is no problem. Problem comes in when husband and wife now have conflicts going on. And now they need opinion, right? As a professional, now when you are giving your opinion, are you professionally correct in giving the opinion to both husband and wife when both of them are having conflicts? Please revert in the chat box. Should you be acting for both of them, or should you be acting only for one of them? I want reverts from all. What is the correct way? Perfect. We should be acting only for one. Rumil, you're saying acting for both. Now let's take an example. Husband and wife have a dispute over a sale of property and a property rights in them. And you, being a tax professional, you want to give your opinion. Husband says my liability is higher. Wife says my liability should be, husband says my liability should be lower. Wife says my liability should be lower. And you have to represent them. Would it be correct if you represent them both? Can you represent them? Don't you think it will lead to conflict of interest? Because you may be biased towards one of them. Are you clear? Everyone, are you clear? This is conflict of interest that should be avoided. So in the situation when there is a conflict of interest, when there is a breakdown of relationship, then in that case, as a professional, you would take steps to ensure that you are acting for only one of them. You're not acting for both of them. I hope we are clear. For example, another example, if you're acting for both the company and the directors or the shareholders in their personal capacity, and in case of any conflict arising, now you will have to choose to whom you want to represent. Because only in case of conflicts of interest, you can have biasness. You will not have objective judgment. Then in that case, you'll have to choose which side you are on. Am I clear? Likewise, another example, acting for both the parties for a transaction, sale and purchase. So you're acting for both seller and buyer. Till the time things are cordial, it's okay. But when they have disputes, and ideally you should not act for seller and buyer both, because both are contradicting interest. So then in that case, you will have to choose which side you are acting for. So if you're acting for both these conflicting parties, you have to take reasonable care that the conflict of interest is not getting arise. So how can we take reasonable care? And let me tell you, this reasonable care is taken care in Big Fours. When you go to the Big Fours, any consulting company, there are different partners teams, right? When one partner prepares a report, there is another partner who's reviewing the reports independently. That's one of the safeguard, that there is no biasness involved. We have different teams working all together differently for the two different parties, buyers and sellers. One team is representing buyer, one team is representing seller, and nobody is having common points in them. I mean, common members. So when you have entirely different teams working, yes, it is a safeguard that you can have, so that there is no conflict of opinions or conflict of views presented. But then you have to be extremely careful, since they both are part of the same organization. Are you clear with this? So this is one of the safeguards that we can have, right? Another can be informing both the parties that, look, I'm acting for your behalf also, and I'm acting for the other party behalf also. Please give me consent that you're okay that if I'm acting for both. So till the time situations are cordial, they would be okay generally, and you can have consent from them. Problem only arises when there is a conflict. So then in that case, you will have to choose. Suppose if the consent is not given, if one of the party gives consent and the other party says, no boss, I won't entertain you, if you act for the other party, we won't entertain. Then in that case, you should stop acting. You will not go ahead. In case if the consent is refused, then you will not act. You will not continue to act for the parties in the matter that has given reason to conflict of interest. Okay. So in case the consent is refused, you will not act for any of these parties. Some safeguards, as we discussed, can be considered, like the use of separate engagement teams. We discussed that. Procedures to prevent access to information, that is, physical separation of teams, physical separation of data, or the data segregation on the systems with password accesses. Like this, we can segregate. Clear guidelines for the members of the engagement team on issues of security and confidentiality. I'll share my experience. When I was with Deloitte, I worked with Deloitte. So I was a part of Start Audit team. And okay, and there were some other teams who were taking care of some other audits of that company. So now we could have conflicting interest. We had separate discussion rooms. We had separate, data segregation was there on the systems, and each member of the client would be given a consent form where he would give consent that, look, I'm not disclosing any confidential information to anyone, and especially to the other engagement team as well. This we had to sign. This would be valid for 1 year. Then again, we would sign it again the next year. This is practically followed. Regular review of the application of the safeguards by a senior individual not involved with relevant client engagements. As I said, a third party partner would review them. Okay, if remember, where a conflict of interest poses a threat to one or more of the fundamental principles that we have studied, objectivity, integrity, and on, that cannot be eliminated or reduced to a minimum level. Now, you cannot reduce that risk, you cannot reduce that threat. Then, in that case, it is more appropriate if you leave working for that client. Do not continue with that engagement, leave that engagement, and resign from that conflicting engagements. Because ultimately, your fundamental ethics principles have to be followed. They cannot be compromised in any way. I do hope that we are clear till this point, people. Let's apply our knowledge. Let's do one small question to see whether we are clear with the topics or not. Okay, so let's proceed and let's go ahead. You don't have to write stories here. For me, as of today, you will just write small pointers in your chat box. We will elaborate it and discuss it. You have acted for Rabbinic Limited for several years, and also for the 3 directors and shareholders, Rob, Ben, and Nick. Boss, you're acting for everyone in the personal capacity as well. Recently, Rob has had a disagreement with Ben and Nick over the direction of the company. Now there is a conflict which is arisen. Explain the safeguards that you would have put in place when you started to act for both the company and its directors and shareholders. Let's discuss the first one. What safeguards you would have put in place? Everyone, type in your views. 1 statement, 2 statements, whatever you want, just type in your views and mark it to me directly now. Okay, instead of marking it to everyone, mark it to me. I would discuss the answers. Everyone type it. Guys, can I have answers? Some views, Twinkle, Tanveer, Ram. Can we have some views? Lino, Himanshu, Akash. Yeah, Akash, you gave me. Come on, everyone, type it in the chat box. Perfect. You're giving me superb answers, guys. Wonderful. So now, Malvika, I'll come to this point. The second answer that you have given, no, I'll come to this point that whether it should be written in your answer, yes or no. Okay, we will discuss this. Okay, now the question was explain the safeguards that you would have put in place when you started to act for both the company and its directors and the shareholders. Yeah, so I'll take one by one answers. Akash, taken consent from all the parties. Wonderful. It is the first step. The first and the foremost step is to take consent from all the parties in question, that is the shareholders, directors, and of course the company. That we are acting, making them clear that I'm acting from all of everybody's behalf. So whether it is okay for all, please give your consent. Okay, so this would be asked by everyone. I mean, this would be required. Yeah, the next was Malvika, taken consent from the parties. Wonderful. Drumil advised one of them acting for the other, not one of them, all of them, Drumil, okay, and should have the consent as we discussed. Malvika says we would also let the parties know about the same companies acting on behalf of all parties. Perfect. Akash, separate engagement teams or engagement partners for each party. Wonderful. This is an additional safeguard that we should have. See, generally in the situations when there is cordial relationship, consent giving will not be a problem and there will not be conflict of interest. Okay, but additionally, yes, we should have the safeguard of having separate engagement teams in place for different parties. Ram said consent from all the parties. Perfect. Now, Malvika has added one point. For avoiding the bias, we should represent only one party, either the shareholders or the directors. Was it required to be written in the first question when they're asking you to explain the safeguards? Not required, so we will not write it. Opinion is not asked here. Since opinion is not asked here, we will not write this point. Are you able to understand, Malvika? Ram says confidentiality should be maintained. Yeah, so it's a basic thing that we will be maintaining. But yes, it is an additional safeguard correctly put up by Ram that steps, it should be ensured that confidentiality of each client is maintained by the engagement teams. Clear guidelines shall be prepared. Yes, Akash. Okay, so wonderful, all of you. I hope you are able to understand what was required to write in point number 1. If I have to write it in explanation way, I will just write 1 or 2 or 3 paragraphs, small paragraphs to make it understand. In the first paragraph, we can discuss about that consent should be received from all the parties and every party should be informed that we are acting for all the parties. Next, we can also discuss that generally in this cordial situations, getting consent is not difficult and it is not a questionable task, though we may have additional safeguards in place to ensure that the conflict of interest doesn't happen, like having different or separate engagement teams for each client as well as maintaining the confidentiality clause. Your answer is over. If it is asked, I mean, just giving you a point, if it is part of a bigger question, it is generally there for 2 marks and the next one would also be there for 2 marks. Give your answer. Outline the ethical issue that is now arising in the actions that you should take. Malvika, your answer now. Are you able to understand? Everybody, please type it in the chat box. Wonderful, Drumil. In fact, you can mark your answers to everyone. That's good. I mean, let's have the discussion. So mark it to everyone. Everyone can read each other's answers. Wonderful, Malvika. Everyone, come on, type it in the chat box. Himanshu, I believe your internet is a bit unstable. Try to go in the stable area and give me the answer. Akash, some views. Lino, views. Tanveer and Twinkle, I'm waiting for your rewards. Okay. Can you explain self-review threat, Akash? Come on, guys. Let's have the opinions. First and the foremost correct answer given by Drumil. By default, it's an objectivity issue because it's a principle of a code of ethics. Now here objectivity is getting affected. That now I'll add Malvika's answer to it because now we can have an element of biasness, conflict of interest. So now what ideally should be done, because the question says what action we should take. The correct action will be to stop acting for all the clients and just continue to act for only one client. Very good, Akash. Yeah, so you will give this detailed answer. Acting for all the parties may conflict the views of professional from the point of view of all the parties. So basically, we should continue to act only for one party and cease to act for other parties. Right? We can write it in this simple way. 2 marks, ideally 1 mark is for 1 point. Here we have 2 points. Number 1, the concept of objectivity, and number 2, ceasing to act for all the clients and just continuing to act for one client. I hope I'm clear. Any questions, any queries? So now, are you getting the feeling of how to write the professional exams? I know. User ma'am, it is looking easy because we've not done any technical portions as of now. Don't worry, we'll be covering it. Okay. So any questions, any queries, please put it in the chat box. Next, I'm covering the tax planning portion. Okay, this is one of, very, very important point because now with tax planning comes a concept called tax evasion and tax avoidance. As a tax consultant that I am, many times clients come to me and directly they say, ma'am, please, I don't want to pay taxes. I want to reduce my tax. I just want to do anything so that I don't pay taxes. Anything can be anything, no? Anything can be not disclosing information also. But is it correct? Is it the correct way to deal with tax planning? No. So what is tax planning exactly? Tax planning is, as a tax planner, as an ACCA, it is my duty to give advice to the clients in a way that my fundamental principle of professional competence and due care is getting met. Because I am going to be responsible for the advice that I'm giving for the client. If I'm giving the advice to the client, why do you want to disclose full information? Don't disclose. Nobody will see it. You have income of 100,000, just show 50,000 income. 50,000, you hide it. That's wrong. Because now I am telling my client to reduce the tax liability by illegal ways, by not the correct ways. This is not correct. So then what is the correct way? Correct way is looking into the legal rules, legal requirements, legal provisions, and making sure that we will have a look into those schemes of taxes which help us to reduce the tax liability. For example, taking care of different allowances, like we have the personal allowances, we have the annual allowances, we have so many allowances that are there in our tax systems. We have different benefits, different exemptions. So try to cover those sections, try to cover those rules and those schemes, and we will apply them to ensure that our tax gets reduced. We do that, right? As a tax planner, we always do that. So as a tax planner, I suggest to my clients to do investments in a way which helps them reduce their tax liability. But I don't tell them that, look, do a tax evasion. We don't do that. Tax evasion means you are intentionally hiding information, showing lower income in a way to reduce taxes, but you're not going the legal way. If you're not going the legal way, that's illegal. You are bound that, if it comes to the notice of HMRC, you will be punished for penalty, interest, as well as you can have imprisonment. Because now you were, manipulating the taxes. You were trying to adopt the illegal means to reduce the tax liability. Got it? Now, you may suggest arrangements with HMRC might disagree with your conclusion as to the tax consequences. Okay, sometimes what happens that I am presenting my information in a way and I've taken the help of few schemes. Correct. Of course, you can say that, Malvika, tax avoidance is legal and tax evasion is completely illegal. Perfect, you can say that. And another thing, so now suppose I have, inserted some schemes in my tax calculations and put it to HMRC, but HMRC has disagreed, has shown disagreement to them. Is not agreeing. So now what is my ideal approach? I'll tell the clients that, look, HMRC is disagreeing. So let's recalculate the taxes, represent the information, okay, and present the information by removing the schemes that we took. If the client says that let's do a negotiation with HMRC, let's have the middle way and solve it. You will not support it because that's not the correct way. You should warn them that any negotiations with HMRC will take time and will incur expenses. The legal way. Legal way negotiations means going to the court cases and, negotiating it over there, doing the settlements over there. You should inform the client about that. Now, of course, if suppose client is not ready to make any changes, then you should you should stopping to act for the client, because in any ways you will not support anything which is not correct, which is not legal. Okay, sometimes if you're sure that your schemes were correct but HMRC was wrong in disagreeing, then you can move to the appellate tribunals and all. You can move to the lower tribunals, upper tribunals, and present your case over there on behalf of the client. That's allowed. Okay, next. When we go to the prospective clients, to the new clients, there is always a threat to the fundamental principles. Make sure that whenever we are approaching new clients, there is no threat to your integrity, objectivity, professional judgments. Your due care should be applied over there. Now, if you know that if the new client is engaged in a tax evasion activities, you will try to convince the client, you try to explain the client that it is wrong, it should not be done, it is illegal. But if the client continues with the tax evasion activity, then it's your duty as a professional. You will not accept that proposal of the client. You will not accept to work for the client. You will refrain from acting for that client. Got it? Because it is going to affect your relationship. Fine. Now, this is a very interesting case. Contacting existing accountants. Now, suppose a client has approached me that, we want to hire you as our consultants, tax consultants. Now, or tax accounting firm, whatever. Now, I want to approach the ex-accounting firm to know the reasons, why they were off the board and what happened, and to get some information about the client. If the client has not permitted the ex-accountants to give the information, then they may refrain from giving the information. And that's absolutely correct. It's absolutely in the professional capacity. However, if the client has not given them any such recommendations, then yes, they can discuss. They are free to share their views with the new accountant. But of course, it's depend upon them how much they want to share. So you cannot force them that, look, you have to share these views. You cannot force them. They will share their views as per their own professional integrity, objectivity, and their judgment. Got it? So quickly, just discussing few points here. You should contact the existing accountants to ascertain if there are any matters that you should be aware of before accepting the new client. And the existing accountants, they are bound by confidentiality. This means The extent to which a client's affair may be discussed with a prospective accountant would be as per the consent of the client. If the permission is not obtained, then existing accountant can simply, inform you of their refusal to share any information, and you cannot force them for the same. However, if you get the information that the existing clients are not going to share any confidential information with you, then in that case, you should not accept the appointment. The reason being, you're not getting the clarity of the things. So then, when the things look fishy, don't accept the appointment. Clear? Let's discuss one more question. Now, I believe we can have more views from everyone. So I can have more participations. Twinkle and Tanveer, I can have more participations from you, from Manish as well, Lino as well. Okay? We have a very interesting case here. You have acted for Tristan, but have discovered a serious tax irregularity which Tristan has refused to correct. So you have advised Tristan that you cannot no longer you can act for the client. You receive a letter from other ACCA accountants advising you that they have been asked to act for Tristan. Tristan has forbidden you to divulge any information about him. Okay? Now, first question. Explain what action you should take in response to the letter. Please type it in the chat box. Explain what action you would take in response to the letter that you have received from the other ACCA firm, accounting firm. What you should do. Everybody type it in the chat box. Then we will discuss the answer. Give your views. Come on, everyone. I'm waiting for your answers. Thank you, Tanveer, for your first answer. On the track. Wonderful, Himanshu. So let's discuss it. The best part is nobody has given me the answer that they will disclose the, the information to the new clients. So perfect. No, Twinkle. We will not specify the reason for discontinuance. You cannot. This is where I wanted to highlight. Client is not allowed that, right? So it, as a professional, as a part of your principles, it is your duty not to disclose any information to the other ACCA firm. You cannot do that, even if you know there were material misstatements. You cannot do that. Okay, so let's discuss the answers. Drumil discussed it should politely decline to ACCA accountants to disclose Tristan information. That's correct, but there is whether there is no correct way written that you have to decline it politely or harshly. Nothing like this. You will simply communicate to the other ACCA firm that you are not going to continue for this client. That you will refuse to share any information about Tristan. Okay, Malvika, correct. You cannot divulge any information as you have no permission from the client. Cannot share any information of Tristan. Very good, Lino. Tanveer, correct. We should not disclose the matter. Himanshu, perfect. Will decline to disclose information to clients of Tristan about Tristan, so will refuse. Akash cannot disclose since the client has forbidden to disclose. Perfect. Twinkle, I think you got your answer. So I hope now you're clear on this. Ram, without permission of the client, we should not disclose to another ACCA. Wonderful, all of you. Very good. Now let's do the second one. Explain what action would the other ACCA accountants would take as a result of your action. Let's discuss what would be the correct action for them. Everyone type it, only then I'll discuss. Come on, everyone, type it. I have answers from Drumil, Akash, Ram, and Malvika. Anyone else? Giving you 30 seconds more. Type it. Let's discuss the answers. We have wonderful answers. Akash, correct and straightforward answer. Inform the client your inability to accept the appointment. Wonderful. You'll inform the client that, look, we have the other accountant firm, the other ACCA accounting firm should inform the client of their inability to act for trust. Simple and straightforward. Perfect answer. Drumil, ACCA accountant should decline to act for Tristan. Wonderful. Ram, ACCA can accept engagement. No. I hope now you are clear, Ram. Why? Because we have read the instruction that if the ex accounting firm refuses to share the details, then the prospective accounting firm should not accept that appointment, because since the things are not very clear, there is always a chances there's always a chance that the client is not acting in the best interest. Am I clear, Ram? Malvika, since they don't have sufficient information about the client, they can decline to act on behalf of Tristan. Perfect. It's not they can decline, they will decline. It's a compulsory situation. Twinkle, try to find out reasons and reasonably act with information available. No, no, no. Are you clear now, Twinkle? That there is no need to do that. You've not got the information, refuse to act for the client. Simple and straightforward. It is as per the code of ethics. They should revert back to Tristan and ask for clarification or letter to give information. No need. Directly refuse. Lino. Got it? Twinkle, Reno, and Ram? Everyone absolutely clear? What is the correct way? Twinkle, having the clarity? Great. Now, if I discuss about the marks, this question would generally be for around 2 to 3 marks. 2 marks for the first one and the second one for 1 marks. Yeah, so ACCA firm would not accept it. Correct. They would refuse to accept it. They would decline to accept this offer. Okay, the reason being the ex accounting firm did not give any information. So as per the code of ethics, the new accounting firm also will not accept the appointment. Are you now clear, Twinkle? It is not necessary that no ACCA firm will accept it. The ACCA firm in question will not accept it. It is not necessary that the new ACCA firm will always ask for the ex accounting firm, right? If any firm is not asking for the ex accounting firm's opinion, and what if the client allows it, then in those cases, then the new appointment will be done. And I'll tell you practically what happens when we refuse the appointment. Clients sometimes give clarifications on their own. Okay, and in that case, if we have the confidence, then we can go ahead with it. But that is not needed to be written in your answer because we are going to be specific to the point. Am I clear, Twinkle? Great. So let's proceed. Let's go to money laundering. I hope everybody is well aware of it. What is money laundering? Guys, what is money laundering? Okay. So we have some answers now. Malvika says showing illegal money in a legal way, making illegal money legal, perfect Tanveer. Himanshu says hiding the source of money. Hiding the source of money obtained from illegal sources and converting into a clean source. That's a legal source. Wonderful. It is the correct way. And converting illegal money into legal money. Perfect, Akash. Drumil saying hiding source of money. Wonderful. Yeah, you have given me all the points. Now, if I say what is money laundering in a very simple way, we can say that money laundering is a process in which an individual or an establishment converts illegal money into legal money through very complex channels. Generally, the money is passed through various phases involving conversion and transfer to a legally accepted institutions. Okay, I would be giving you some examples also that where this, money laundering cases have been very, very famous in India and worldwide as well. The Punjab National Bank case also in India, where money laundering activities were done by Nirav Modi and all, very famous cases. Then, basically, like you have elaborated, money laundering is basically the way by which the black money is converted into white money, or simply illegal money is converted into legal money through various channels they get converted. Or basically, one more point that Drumil pointed out, when the source of information is hidden, it is not clear, it is not clarified, it is not made clear that how we got this source of information, okay, or where this source of money came from. So now we try to hide that source, and I think we had various money laundering arrangements, in where the latest being even the ICICI bank case. Some famous cases have been the HSBC case also in 2012. The US Department of Justice charged the HSBC bank, okay, for money laundering cases. So there have been various cases: Standard Chartered Bank, the Liberty Reserve case, Westpac case, one of the largest banks in Australia, okay, Danske Bank case. So there are so many cases where money laundering activities have, being followed, and they were found out, the irregularities were found out, and wherein these arrangements were there. So we have also the various scams in India also that took place for money laundering, right? So is it welcome by taxes? Is it welcome by tax departments to have money laundering activities? Of course, you'll say no, ma'am. Make sure that you are following and you're checking that money laundering activities are not done by the clients, especially the new clients with whom you want to create a new relationship. How will we ensure that the irregularities are not taking place? Let's take that portion. So, what is money laundering? The process by which generally the criminals they attempt to conceal the true original, that is a source of money, and the ownership of the proceeds of their criminal activities. This includes tax evasion, of course. Tax evasion is covered in this way because it is covered in the provisions of money laundering as well. So, as a professional, you're bound to implement the preventive measures like number one, client identification procedures, that we say in simple way KYC of the client. And then if there is any suspicions, then please report it to the appropriate authority. Okay, if you don't do that, even on the professional fines can be leviable, and imprisonments can take place. First thing is, what is the client identification process? Before accepting the new client, it is your duty as a professional to verify that their identity is authentic by reliable and independent means. Like, one of them can be, suppose the person is an individual, then you can have the evidences, check their identification card, check their HMRC codes that are given to the employees. So you can just read them in your tax portions that are given to the employees. When you're an employee, you are given those payee codes and all that's unique to an employee. So check those codes, check the proof of address and all. If the company is an establishment, check their place of registration, the registered office, the place of working. Look into their MOM, AOA, okay, and look into their shareholders list, directors list. Make sure that they're authentic. So you should do a background check for them. If you are satisfied that yes, everything is clean, only then go ahead with the client. Otherwise, don't work for the client. Make sure that you have to retain these client identification records for a period of at least 5 years. Even after the client, including your all work papers, you have to maintain them for a minimum period of 5 years. Second way is, like we discussed, suspicion of money laundering. Guys, the moment you become suspicious as a professional of the money laundering activities carried on by the clients, ideally, the correct way is, first way, to ensure that the money laundering activities are not carried on by the clients, we can satisfy ourselves by continually or regularly reviewing the background checks of the client, and you know uh, reviewing the client's actions, any actions that they have taken which you think can have effect on the money laundering activities, any unusual activities by the clients. Just make sure that you are reviewing them in detail to be sure that there is no money laundering activities which are going on. If you have suspicions, then the correct action is inform. If you have a firm of partners, then if you have a laundering or money laundering officer, which is compulsory in UK, so then in that case you will inform about the suspicious money laundering activities of the client to the money laundering officer of your company. And then, or else, if you're an individual, or even the money laundering officer of your company or the firm can deposit, can create and submit a money laundering report to the National Crime Agency. And then it's your duty to stop acting to work for that client which is suspicious of involved in money laundering activities. It is again your duty not to give a reason for why you are stopping to act for the client. Remember that. Whenever we stop to act for a client and we give a resignation to HMRC, in any case, you should not give a reason for why you are stopping to act for the client because of the confidentiality principle. Make sure you remember it. So, in case of a money laundering happening, inform it to the money laundering officer of your firm or the company, or in case of an individual, directly give a report to National Crime Agency. In case of the firm, the money laundering officer can submit a report to the National Crime Agency. Make sure that you will not inform the client about the money laundering report which has been made. If you inform the client, then you're punishable to criminal offense, because this is called as tipping off. You have tipped off the client becomes well aware of maybe a raid or any such activity to be taking to basically which is going to take place at his offices and all. This should not be done. Tipping off is completely not allowed. I hope I'm absolutely crystal clear till this point. Any questions and queries, please put up in the chat box. Guys, absolutely clear? Anything that you have to ask me till this point? Anything that is not understood, please put up in the chat box. Great. I really want my class to be absolutely crystal clear. Next, tax avoidance schemes. We have already discussed that, so I'm just quickly repeating it. I'll explain the point of resignation again. Akash, suppose if there is any wrongdoing going on in the company, whether it is money laundering, whether it is tax evasion, or any other point, due to which, no, as a tax professional, yes or no? Tell me yes or no. Would you stop acting for the client, or you continue to act? Stop acting. Wonderful. Now, when you resign, you just don't give resignation to client. You have to give a copy of resignation to HMRC also, because then you will stop writing. You will stop signing the reports for the clients. So there is a way, a proper channel to be followed. Am I clear? Is it? It's showing me full network. Am I now clearly audible? Okay, so I do hope that there was not too much of voice lagging, because it is showing me a network, full network here. I'll make sure that it is not repeated again in case if it was. Okay, yeah. So I hope you followed here. Right. So basically, when you're giving a copy of resignation to HMRC, it is not that you're not bound to give any reason. It is your duty not to give any reason. You will not give any reason to HMRC that why you have stopped acting for the client. If there is any money laundering activity, then you will route it through money laundering officer or to the National Crime Agency. But you will not give a direct reason to HMRC. Is this clear? Now is this clear? Great. Okay, now let's proceed ahead. So now we know about the tax avoidance rules and schemes. We have already discussed about it, that when there is somebody in the company, generally, those are promoting tax avoidance schemes relating to direct taxes or indirect taxes, they have disclosure obligations. There is an obligation on taxpayers to disclose details of the schemes in certain cases, in case if you are taking care of, or basically if you're taking help of tax avoidance schemes. See, always remember, tax avoidance schemes are when you want to avoid taxes, right? That is by the legal ways. You are taking the help of some schemes to avoid the taxes, right? So now in that case, a detailed disclosure, detailed information is to be given to it, in your return that you are filing, that which scheme you are taking help of to reduce the taxes, which particular exemption you're claiming, which allowance you're claiming, okay, on account of what you are claiming repayment of taxes, that is refund of taxes. So all these provisions you will write, yeah, we receive in India. Whenever you file income tax returns, you have an intimation that you receive in your emails under section 143. What is it? The comparison of taxes calculated by you and by the income tax department. Same calculations are done by HMRC. So then in that comparisons, your tax avoidance schemes are complete, reflected over there. So if HMRC is also agreeing with the same, your taxes will not mismatch. The calculations done by you and HMRC, they will not mismatch. However, if there is any disagreement, I hope it is not, because I felt that for a moment and then it stopped lagging. Anyways, I'll make sure that I'll just recheck the network connection again. Okay, I'll make sure. Akash, now am I audible? But I hope you were able to hear everything that I said, or something that you missed out? Please revert. Okay, everyone, were you able to hear everything that I said? Or anything that you missed out? Akash, give me a revert. I'll come to your point, Malvika. Okay, I'll repeat everything again. Okay, I'll repeat tax avoidance schemes, not a problem. So in between, Twinkle has asked me a question that what is the reason for not disclosing the reason to HMRC? This is what Twinkle want to ask, because of confidentiality principle. Because of the confidentiality principle, you are bound not to give reasons to HMRC. You cannot disclose client information to anyone, be it HMRC also. Clear, Twinkle? Now, Malvika, your point, we have to provide all the disclosures regarding tax avoidance, of course. Tax avoidance means when you have taken care of some special schemes, like to ensure that you're reducing your taxes. So apart from the regular schemes that you are applying, some special schemes you have identified and that you have applied. Like for pensions that you're contributing, now you have applied the rule for annual allowances. You have taken the personal allowances. So we do that calculation. Okay, we show them. So there are different rows and columns in the income tax returns where we have to show them specifically. It basically means that you will not merge the amounts together. The tax avoidance schemes should be notified separately. And if there's any notification, notification references should be given, and notification to HMRC should be done clearly in the returns, so that when HMRC is recalculating the taxes, comparing it with your tax calculations, ideally they should match. If you do not disclose the details of tax avoidance schemes that you have undertaken, if you don't disclose them properly, if you fail to comply with them, then in that case, there is a penalty which is not more than 600 per day from the date your failure to disclose started or occurred. If the disclosure notice is issued by HMRC that give us a detail of the avoidance schemes that you have used, and then also if you are not complying with it within 10 days, then a maximum daily penalty of 5,000 pounds will be applicable. So minimum, there is no limit. That is maximum 600 per day can be there in case if you fail to disclose. When you have received notice and then also have not disclosed, then the maximum penalty of 5,000 per day can also be implied by HMRC. Please understand, it is in the powers of HMRC to give penalty. We don't put penalties on our own. HMRC decides what penalty to give. Am I clear till this point, everyone? Akash, are you clear now? So Lino, Malvika, Manish, Himanshu, Dhrumil, Aditya, Ram, Tanveer, Twinkle. Everyone is clear? Sagar? No, yeah. So we'll talk about penalties later on. Penalties can be reduced, can be waived off also based upon if the HMRC is satisfied with your reason. You're giving a standpoint, and if they are satisfied, then they can waive it off also. They can reduce it also. Right? When we will do this discussion of penalties, that time we'll understand it. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, this will not be included in your tax aids and allowances chart. This means what? You need to remember it. Okay? I'll tell you ways how you will remember your penalties, due dates and all. I'll tell you a best way that you will start doing it. So in tomorrow's session, I'll explain you that. Okay, quickly. Now, till now, what we have done for this was the heading direct tax avoidance schemes. Direct taxes means we cover like chargeable gains taxes, that is the capital gain tax, the income tax, national insurance contributions, inheritance tax, corporation tax, stamp duties or stamp taxes, all these are covered in direct taxes. Indirect tax is like VAT, value added tax. Okay, that is covered under indirect tax. So it has got a different rule about penalties. Everything else is same like direct taxes. You have to notify to HMRC, define it clearly whatever exemptions or the schemes that you have undertaken. If you don't do that, then here the penalty is up to 600 per day. That's okay. But look at the maximum penalty. The maximum penalty can be given by HMRC in certain circumstances up to pound 1 million. Okay, up to pound 1 million. That is around pound 10 lakhs. Penalty can be levied upon by HMRC maximum total penalty. So we'll discuss about those cases. Okay, I hope I'm clear. And few more details about these VAT schemes are given in your essential reading. So I would want all of you to go through essential reading, okay, and read it through. Now, I know you don't have books today, so I'll make sure that I will share the essential reading screenshots today. So read it across. I'll share it in the WhatsApp group. Fine? Then read it and do this reading before tomorrow's session. You will have ample time to read through it. Okay? Any queries? Any doubts? Okay, let's proceed. I'll take up the next portion, serial tax avoidance. But before I go into it, let's first understand what is serial tax avoidance. Serial tax avoidance is a regime which is designed to deter people from using tax avoidance arrangements to gain a tax advantage, which is not intended by legislation. The term arrangements means any agreements, understandings, schemes, transactions, or a series of transactions. What does it mean? Boss, I had put up a notification to get tax avoidance, to do tax avoidance in my returns or informed it to HMRC by way of a notification. HMRC refused it. They have cancelled it. They have put down this arrangement. And they said, no, boss, we will not allow it. It's cancelled. But then again, I'm putting it in my next return, thinking that HMRC will not look into it. This is called as serial tax avoidance. You did one tax avoidance scheme. It was put down by HMRC. Now again, you want to write the same tax avoidance scheme. Then again, the same one. Why you're doing it? You may just take a chance to ensure that HMRC will not look it. This is serial tax avoidance. So the taxpayers who use more than one tax avoidance schemes, which has been defeated on or after 6th April 2017, may be classed as serial tax avoiders by HMRC. This is, why it is done. It is practically done to save HMRC from the repeated tasks that they are doing. See, once I've cancelled, suppose you approached me for an expense approval. I cancelled an expense approval. And next time you're again approving that expense. So it is taking my double efforts, my wasting of time and effort. What if I overlook it? Then wrongly it is getting approved, which is not correct. So to ensure to safeguard HMRC, from coming to this position, we have serial tax avoidance scheme, in place since 6th April 2017. Now, so 6th April 2017, the taxpayers who are using more than one tax avoidance schemes, and especially the schemes which have been defeated by HMRC, which have been, cancelled by HMRC, put down by HMRC, disagreed by HMRC, if they are taking it again, using it again, they are going to be called as serial tax avoiders. So what are the implications? And what do we mean by defeated scheme? The scheme which is put down by HMRC. What does it mean? It means that either the taxpayer has reached an agreement with HMRC, so the tax avoidance that would have been expected under the scheme is not available. Okay, HMRC is explained to the client and to the taxpayer that look, this scheme benefit that you were expecting to get is no longer available. Or HMRC has obtained a favorable court judgment. This case went into the court. The court has given a favorable judgment to HMRC. Okay. The serial tax avoider may not be the same person. Please understand. I hope this clarity will be there. Now, the moment, suppose, I'll give you one example. So I'll give you one example in taxes. Now, there is a rule that personal allowance will not be available. It's an allowance which is available to the taxpayers when you calculate your taxes. If the taxpayer income is beyond a certain limit, PA will not be allowed. It's a rule given. But then also if I'm claiming PA, I'm wrong. Okay, HMRC cancelled it. Suppose if I challenged it in the court, court has given a judgment in favor of HMRC. Now, there is a taxpayer B. Taxpayer B, even after referring to that judgment, is again putting that PA in the returns. Now the taxpayer PA is a serial tax avoider. Why? Because even if it is clearly mentioned by HMRC by way of winning the court case or in the law or by way of notification that this is not allowed as a tax avoidance scheme for the taxpayers earning income beyond a certain limit, then why are you taking that PA in account? You're wrong in that. These are classified as serial tax avoiders. That means they are unnecessarily wasting the time of HMRC, simply speaking. Got it? Such taxpayers will be issued with a serial tax avoidance warning notice, which has effect for 5 years. And you know what is this? During this 5 years, what additional responsibility they have? They will be required to submit additional information to HMRC about their tax affairs annually. For example, what the use of their tax avoidance schemes that they're using annually. The detailed tax affairs, tax details annually, they will have to submit for 5 years to HMRC. And of course, serial tax avoiders would be the one where the amount involved is large. Not everybody would be a serial tax avoider. Sometimes we do mistake, we do a mistake, not intentionally. So then you will have an opportunity to speak. And when it is proved that you are a serial tax avoider, only then these rules will apply. It's not that by default this rule will apply. Clear? Sanctions against serial tax offenders will include penalties if further tax avoidance schemes are entered into during the notice period, which is increasing with the number of such schemes entered into. That means what? Notice has been served. One or the other serial tax avoidance schemes. The tax avoidance schemes are being entered by the taxpayer. One or the other is still entered. Suppose the HMRC focused on tax avoidance scheme 1. Then the taxpayer is looking into tax avoidance scheme 2 or 3. So one or the other, he is taking care of tax avoidance scheme, which is not agreed by HMRC. So then in that case, penalties can also apply. Also, HMRC can publicly name the company as a serial tax avoider on the website. Restrictions on direct tax relief up to 3 years will be there. That is the normal tax reliefs also, which would generally be applicable to the taxpayer will also not be applicable, will also not be allowed because the person is categorized as a serial tax avoider. Am I clear now with this? Please revert. Yeah, so make sure that if you're in UK filing taxes, double check your return before you approve it, even for a client. It's highly essential. Next is general anti-abuse rules. These are the common rules. Even in India, we follow it. So what are general anti-abuse rules? The main purpose of these rules is to withhold the taxpayers, to stop the taxpayers from entering into abusive tax arrangements and to deter the would-be promoters for promoting such arrangements. Like for example, when we are having significantly less income, profits or gains, okay, we are making some arrangements, maybe destruction of invoices, physical invoices and all, to ensure that we are showing significantly less income in our books, significantly greater deductions or losses than ideally that you would have got. You are showing significant higher levels of them. Okay, that is general anti-abuse rules that are applicable to all the taxpayers. A claim for the repayment or credit of tax that has not been made and is unlikely to be paid as well. You are making a claim for the repayment of taxes that is not going to be made by HMRC. So you are making a wrong claim. That is not allowed. HMRC can counteract tax advantages by increasing the tax liability. I don't know how many of you follow, if seen that in Indian tax environments. In Indian tax environments is also done. If you do a wrong claim, then instead of giving, charging it as just an additional tax along with interest, your liability is increased. Okay, and then you are required to pay that liability. If in the return, if I've shown less income, then by HMRC, I would be asked to increase the income, thereby increasing the liabilities and paying the remaining taxes. A notice will be served upon. Okay, yes, so we should be very, very careful when we're submitting the details to HMRC, indirect taxes or indirect taxes, because every detail is scrutinized, it is checked, okay, thoroughly. A penalty bill can be also imposed if the taxpayer enters into arrangements which are countered by the GAR. The penalty is equal to 60% of the tax advantage gained. This is the penalty that can be charged. And again, penalty is in whose area? HMRC. HMRC has got the full power to charge that penalty. We are done with the chapter 1. Quick, guys, any questions and queries? Okay, so let's do some questions from chapter 1 before we move ahead to chapter 2. I'll take it from here only, question bank. Let's do some small questions. Yeah, let's do this question number 2. Just a moment. Even this can be done. Let's do question number 2. I'll send 2 questions to you that you can try it, try out today and tomorrow before the class. So we can discuss them. Fine. Let's try out question number 2. Let's read it. Your manager sent you an email, okay, in respect of a new client called Royce. An extract of an email from your manager is set out below. Prepare the paragraphs for the letter as required by your manager. Okay. Now, undeclared income. This is an extract from the email from the manager that says that there is undeclared income. What are the details of the same? Royce purchased a motorboat for his own use a few years ago, but found out that many of his friends wanted to borrow it. In the last tax year, he began charging £250 a day for the use of the boat. Royce thinks that this income cannot be subject to income tax as he only charges an amount which helps him cover the cost of running the boat. However, I have considered the situation and concluded that the hiring out of boat has resulted in taxable profits. Please prepare paragraph for a letter from me to Royce addressing the following issue. How the income will be subject to income tax and the implications for Royce and our firm of failing to declare the income to HMRC. You do not need to deal with interest and penalties as I will address these in the rest of the letter. So you're just required to do two things. First, how the income will be subject to income tax, and second, implications for Royce and our firm if we fail to declare it to HMRC. Let's cover the first point. I'll do the writing work. I'll explain you how to do the writing. But let's have some points. How the income will be subject to income tax? Can we discuss what we can write to Royce about it? Please think and give me the points in the chat box. What do you think? What do you think? What we should suggest? You tell me whether this will lead to a taxable income or not. Is it a taxable income? Yes or no? At least give me that. And then now we are going to frame the answer. So I'll show you how to prepare the paragraphs. Wonderful, all of you. So you're clear for one thing that yes, ma'am, it is going to lead to taxable income. Now let's create the answer. Okay, let's create the answer. So I am giving you an answer for this introduction. I will update and send it to you. Through mill. Perfect. So we'll not write chargeable gain through mill. Chargeable gain is when you sell off a capital asset. Renting income is going to be covered under the royalties. Okay. So it is not going to be covered under, it is a business income, profits from the hiring of the boat. It is not chargeable gains. Okay. So I'm doing this further questions. Question number 2. So let's write the answer. Who are you? First, let's see that. Your manager has sent you an email in respect of the new coin called. You are writing a letter to Royce now addressing the issue. So we are writing a letter to Royce. We don't have to write to Royce and all that. Just start writing the paragraph. Let's see how to write the paragraph. Okay. So you will be addressing yourself as I. We can say that I have looked into the situations or you can write circumstances around or circumstances concerning the rental income. Just see how I'm writing, okay? The rental income of rental income of the rental income for the use of motorboat here. Rental income for the use of motorboat. So first line, we have given the introduction to the Royce, that for what purpose I'm writing you a letter. Now you can give your opinion. So now I conclude that, or I would like to conclude, because here your opinion is needed, right? I would like to conclude that this rental income or this rental income would be subject to income tax as hiring profits from hiring business, hiring of the boat. Okay, so we have given in determining the profits from the hiring business or hiring of the boat, the rental income that you have received will be reduced by the expenses that you have incurred towards, not because the person says, no, I'm also, these are just the cost to cover the running of the boat. So we can say that yes, it can be reduced by the expenses that you have incurred towards the running of the boat. Now you can give your, your help as a consultant, that we can offer to assist you in calculation of the taxable profits. Right? So in this paragraph, I explained them about the renting activity. Now there was a second point. Second point will have another paragraph. So what is the second point? The implications for Royce and our firm of failing to declare the income to HMRC. Now, first line, we will discuss what is correct. The above information about the taxable profits is required, to be disclosed to HMRC. Yeah, it's required to be disclosed to HMRC. If, however, not give the reasons, that the situations, if, however, failure, if, however, the disclosure is then it will lead to failure. Okay, then it will lead to failure. Yes, we will come to that points. First, I'm explaining the situation, Durmi, that if we don't disclose it, then it will lead to failure to disclose the profits, and which would amount to tax evasion, right? It would amount to, because you're hiding the facts, so it would amount to tax evasion. And what is tax evasion? Which is an illegal and criminal offense. So this statement, I made it clear that what it would lead to. Now let's talk about further. In addition, now we'll talk about our position. We will not continue to act for the client. In addition, in case of a deliberate tax evasion activity, we would not be we would not wish to be associated with the client. As now you have to explain why, which principle is getting affected, as it poses a threat to the principle of integrity and professional what do you call it, diligence. Yeah, professional diligence. Right? The principle of integrity and professional diligence. However, now let's give them positive side also. However, if you wish to disclose to HMRC the above taxable profits, the above mentioned taxable profits, then taxable profits and pay tax liabilities, yeah, then we would continue. We are taking a new appointment. New client, no? Then we would be happy to accept the appointment. We would be happy to accept the appointment. New client, it's not prospective client. Now we can also discuss that if however we cease to act for you, actually I'll write continue the appointment only, no? Because it is a new client that probably we have already engaged with. It is not prospective client, no? In respect of a new client. So we're already given an opinion, so probably we're only attached to the client. So we'll be happy to continue the appointment. If however we cease to act for you, then we need to inform HMRC about the same, but you will also write, however, However, we don't need to give reason for the cessation. Additionally, but we cannot inform it, right? We may consider to prepare. No, we cannot write it. Money laundering report, I cannot write to the client, but I can give it as a note. At the end, we can give it as a note that we can also prepare a money laundering report and submit to the money laundering officer or of the firm or the National Crime Agency. However, the client should not be informed about such report as it will lead to tipping off. Okay. Does it give you clarity that what kind of paragraphs you are expected to write? Did I write something that you don't know about? Did I write something that was difficult in language? Everything you know about, right? We just gave them a proper line. Instead of writing just one line, I just elaborated it and wrote it in a professional way. Can you try one or two questions on your own also? I would like to send you as a homework some 2-3 questions, which I want you to frame in your own words. And then we can discuss it in the class. Would it be okay? So that from day one only, your writing skills can be improved and you can become more professional in your writing. Okay. Okay. I would like to ask you if there is any questions, any other points that you have to ask me. Today being a first session, I would take it for little less time. The reason being, I want you to absorb all things that we have discussed in a first session. Were you able to understand everything that we discussed? Any concerns? Okay, now, no, penalties. If you have to mention, yes, you can write about penalties also. You can mention penalties. But I'm not mentioning in this letter because the question last line tells me you don't need to deal with interest and penalties, as I will address these in the rest of the letter. So right now, we don't need to mention it. That is why I have not mentioned it. If this line was not there, I would have mentioned penalties also. Yeah, we would have, see, it's just written to you that you're addressing to the client. But of course, you're giving information about there, right? That you know about. And please, in the exam, as we progress, I will guide you. In the exam, we will write according to the marks also. You don't need to write full paragraph that you know about. Okay, we'll go according to the marks. If the question is for 4 marks, ideally we should give 4 to 5 points. That's all. No need to write more points than that. Okay, so that we're able to finish the paper in time. Great. Okay, now few things to note, boss. I am going to give you homeworks which I expect you all to complete. We will be having 3-hour session on Saturday and Sunday, and we are also required to have one weekday session as per the necessity. Okay, as per the need basis. so that we are able to comfortable, in a comfortable position, we should be able to complete our syllabus for March attempt. This is what our target is. I want to do ample practice in the class, of course, covering your exam kit, further questions, a lot of other question banks. Parallelly, people, I want you to follow your ACCA study hub also. So I've just opened here the ACCA study hub. I hope you've been to the ACCA study hub. In your My ACCA, okay, when you go to My Qualifications, you will find the link for ACCA study hub. Like I found it here. Suppose I've opened ATX. It gives you a lot of points. You can write your own notes here. There are bookmarks. While you're reading, you can do some highlights that you want to highlight, point it. There are table of contents. Like here it is chapter 1, for example, that we have covered. Then this is the income tax administration. So we have covered few points, but not much. We have covered these actually, you will be able to cover these portions once we cover few chapters. Okay. So suppose if I open this, now income tax computation, it is give me a list. Now I click on here, personal allowance. So it is give me a detail about personal allowance. Okay. Anything that you want to go ahead, you can just look here. Right. So suppose I want to open this income tax administration only. You can go onto the respective tabs. You can go in here. There is a summary and quiz for every chapter. The syllabus that has been covered. The technical articles are also listed here only. You don't need to go anywhere else. So if for any topic, you can just click here and the book content is here. Right. You have quizzes. Chapter-wise quizzes are there. Practice sessions are there for section A, section B, exam style. Okay, then you have links to practice platforms. All this is there. So I really want you all to follow ACCA Study Hub also parallelly with the topics that we are completing. Okay, so it will give you more confidence. It will give you more practice for your exam point of view. Make sure that you are following your ACCA Global, ACCA Study Hubs regularly. I would share the link in the WhatsApp, no issues. Okay, in the WhatsApp group, I'll share everything. I'll share the answer also that I've created. I'll share in the WhatsApp group, in the Excel. Okay. Okay, so Twinkle, you can just approach the team. VGLD, the team will add you to the respective group because they do it. Okay, so that respective subject group, they will add you there. Okay, so anything else? Otherwise, I'll stop here for today. Yeah, the materials again, Malvika, please connect with the team. They take care of the materials. So you can connect with Sandeep sir, okay, or the counselor with whom you are in touch. Just connect with the team. They will help you. They will guide you for everything, for all these things that you have. You will get access to LMS also, where the recordings would be uploaded. Okay, and you will have access. So everyone, now start studying, given your efforts. Just we have covered chapter 1 today. So please go through it, revise through it. Any questions and queries, put it to me in tomorrow's session. See you all in the tomorrow's session. Study well, study hard, and let's have a very fruitful ATX sessions. Okay? Okay, bye-bye. Good night. See you all tomorrow. Be punctual when you join the classes. I do hope that the first session was understandable and you guys were comfortable today and you could understand everything that we discussed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.